How's it going, superest of super friends? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Brad the DC Universe Geek, and today I have in my possession the fantastic MAFEX Batman Hush in the black and gray. The box art for this bad boy is absolutely fantastic. It is perfection. The graphic design, the images of the figures, all the logos, everything complements everything. This is probably one of my favorite action figure boxes ever. And of course the back is where all the fun begins, because that's when they begin to give us a taste of all the goodies we get on the inside. Not that the big window in the front wasn't enough, we can see everything on the inside, but let's take him out of the box now, shall we? I'm itching to get him out, and he looks like he's itching to get out. And now is the moment that I was waiting for, or the time when I get to take him out of the package and really look at everything. I get really excited at this point because, well, I get to take him out and look at everything. He comes with a whole whack of extra hands, chucking a batarang, open hands, holding a batarang, a little bit less open hands, fisty punch hands that you can put a batarang in. He also comes with the left and right hand, each one holding a bat grapple. Does that mean he can hold two at once? Or that's just because you want to have him holding a bat grapple in his left hand or his right hand? I choose to have him holding both at once, like a complete and total badass. He's also got two bat grapple hooks. One short, hasn't been shot yet, and the other one's got some of the line extended below it. It has been shot. He's got 4 batarangs, 2 different types, bat-shaped and boomerang-shaped. He also comes with a sweet rooftop action figure base with a, looks like an eagle head, but from certain angles it kind of reminds me of a frog. We know it's an eagle because it's this iconic scene right here. And he also has an extra angry, gritty teeth face head sculpt as well. That's for when he's real mad. And then of course, we have the figure itself. The fantastic piece de resistance. Did I use that phrase correctly? Who cares?
Derp, derpity derp derp derp. Derp, 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 derp.
This Batman figure looks absolutely fantastic. Let's look at him close up together. This Batman up close is exactly the same sculpted body as the previous one. There is no difference. The only difference with this Batman is the color scheme. The deco of the yellow and the black and the gray is all completely different. And for some reason, even though it's the same figure, I feel like it just looks better in black and gray. As with the previous Batman, the bat on his chest has been sculpted on, and I think for the most part the paint has gone where it's supposed to, in the lines. This Batman's utility belt is definitely a lot more tidy than the previous Batman's utility belt ended up being. And you can see the yellow tones used. Yeah, they're completely different, and I really do prefer the look of this yellow, at least with the gray and black, in comparison to had they have used this here brighter yellow. I will say that one wonky thing about mine is this kneecap is a darker gray than the rest. I'm not really sure what happened there. Probably they grabbed the darker kneecap when they were assembling him. It actually looks kind of like this kneecap belongs on this Batman. But just the same as the previous Batman, the sculpted detail is fantastic with this guy. All the details, there is even, look, there's a little wrinkle in the butt crack of his trunks there. And the figure overall just looks really, really well done this time. Not a lot of things that I would consider QC issues overall. I think that they did a very good job with this one. When it comes to this Batman's head sculpt, it's exactly the same as the previous one, so the sculpt itself is awesome. It's probably my favorite 6-inch scale Batman head sculpt to date. I do unfortunately have to point out the QC issue on mine where the chin has a scratch where the paint came off, and underneath the nose and along the mask line it doesn't quite line up where it's supposed to. You guys all know that over time I've lessened my standards with quality control for paint apps if it's a lower priced figure, but with something that costs me $90 American, then converted to Canadian, then I gotta pay shipping. Yeah, I kind of want the face, which is the main focal point, to have flawless paint. Really though, when Batman's just standing there on your shelf in a pose, you're not really going to notice that, so I can't take off too much of a mark for it because it's not that huge of a deal. And what about that cape though? Well, just like with the last one, it goes all the way down to here with both sides, ending right here, which is accurate to the comic books. That's where Batman's cape ends, around there. And this one, I feel like the material they used is just easier to deal with than with the previous one. So great was my annoyance level with the previous cape that I actually swapped out the cape on my blue and gray Batman with the cape from the animated Batman vs. TMNT figure. It fits perfectly where it's supposed to, and also does a fairly good job as far as color match is concerned. But yeah, the cape itself is wired, as usual, as we would expect, and there's There is a lot of cape there. Can I zoom this camera out anymore? Yeah, okay, that gives me a bit more space. Because I'm gonna need it, because this cape is so huge. There's some pleating right there that they've sewn into the cape, some lines right there to make it fit over his shoulders better. Oh, I really like this fabric. It feels like super comfy, sexy black silk underwear. And you can really see how much cape you get here. And I don't know, I like this better than the previous one, even though I know it's the exact same cape design, it's the exact same amount of fabric. I feel like this fabric makes all the difference. And this cape totally bunches over his shoulders a lot easier than the previous one. As for the articulation, I know that most of you probably know what he's going to get, but there might be some of you who are wondering, so I'll just show you he's got a ball joint here in the chest and in the waist, and that gives him a pretty darn good range of motion. He's got articulation at the base of the neck and inside the head, and again, a very good range of motion. He's got those rounded butterfly joints in the shoulder that move all around and try to conceal some of that articulation, giving him a very, very good amount of articulation when you also combine the bicep swivel, the rounded hinge, and the double jointed elbows. And let's not forget the little roundy hinge for a wrist right there. Below the belt, old Batsy's got two big round ball joints, and there's also some rotative motion, and they're drop hinges, as is MAFEX's way. So you can make him look freakish. They offer a pretty darn reasonable amount of articulative motion there. No complaints. And what about them knees? Well, they're double jointed, as always. And they look fantastically posable. And finally, the ankles. We know they're going to have that rounded hinge. They're going to turn out in a circle, and they're going to pivot. And he's also got the toe articulation there. Oh, and something I forgot to point out during the detail part of the video, he's got fantastically sculpted boot treads too. So, as you can see, he has absolutely enough articulation to impress even the biggest articulation and posability buffs. Oh, Batman fell over. He's drunk. Now, before we go on to the actual comparison portion of the video, I want to take a bit more time to really appreciate this fantastic action figure stand. This is probably my favorite base, my favorite pack-in action figure stand ever. This is awesome. I mean, how iconic is this? But look at how fantastic this has been painted. There's 3 layers of painted detail on here to bring out every nook and cranny. That black wash really does a great job. And now it's time for arguably the most fun part of recording this video. That's the comparative portion. And as you can see, I've got a lot of different Batmans and Bat family figures to compare him to. So let's get right into it. So the first and possibly the most prudent of all the comparisons I should make would be that of the blue and gray to this new black and gray variant. You can see that they're exactly the same as far as all the sculpted details goes, but I must say the black and gray just pops a little bit more. Now, before we get into comparing this Batman to other characters that you may have yourself that you can pose him with, I just want to compare him to some of my other favorite black and gray custom Batman figures. Lord knows I've made many attempts over the years to try to capture that iconic gray and black solid bat pouch belt look over the years. If you've been looking at these pictures, I think that you can tell that I've been fairly successful. None of these are perfect, but I feel like I've done an okay job. However, this MAFEX Batman really is a thing of beauty in its own right. Oh, and that was not a custom. I just needed to fill the space. That's the MAFEX Dark Knight Returns Batman. Here we see Batman posed with various members of his Bat family from various times in his publication history, with figures from various lines. And I wanted to show you that this figure scales pretty well with all kinds of different figures from all kinds of different action figure lines. But why stop there? Let's also compare him to a DC Icons Harley Quinn, and then a customized version of the DC Direct Hush series Joker, a Matty Collector signature Poison Ivy, along with a DC Direct Ra's al Ghul, a fantastic DC UC Penguin, and a DC Superheroes Clayface. 2 different Killer Croc action figures made by Mattel. The one on the left is actually from that very, very old Batman action figure line from 2001, and the one on the right is that massive Collecting Connect from the DC Multiverse. And then, finally, to the recently released MAFEX Hush Superman action figure. Man, what a pair these guys make. Both of these guys are two of the very best figures of these characters ever made, in my opinion. So now that we've popped this figure on the review bench and had a close look at the packaging, the figure, the accessories, the articulation, done some comparisons, what do I think about this guy? Is he worth your time and effort and hard-earned money to track him down as a consumer and Batman action figure DC figure collector? Or should you just leave him in the package, on the shelf, because he's nothing but a piece of Batman-shaped garbage plastic? I don't know why I went that far to illustrate the idea of him being a piece of Batman-shaped garbage plastic, because if you've been watching this review the whole way through and paying attention, you'll know that I am absolutely tickled with this guy, and if you can find him anywhere on a store shelf, anywhere online for a reasonable price, not by some price-jacking reseller that's trying to make 300% profit on him, I say definitely grab him up while you can, because A, he's only going to go up in price, and B, just based on his demand, he's going to be quite hard to find for the first while. And if you hesitate, he's gone, because he's a hot item right now. And of course he is. Well, just look at him. I think arguably the most definitive, more modern take on Batman to life in figure form. That black and gray pouch belt, solid bat on the chest look, I don't think vanilla has ever looked so good, especially when you add in the articulation factor. You're dealing with a very serious 6-inch Batman action figure. So yeah, if you see him, grab him up while you still can. But hey, that's just my story and I'm sticking to it. Hopefully you found this video to be an interesting, insightful, useful waste of time for the last 10 minutes. If you did, you know where all the buttons are on YouTube to do all the things if you're not yet subscribed or you want to leave a like. And I will see you with the next one. Have a super awesome, fantastic DC day, everybody, and take care.